which I take a slash on camera. Well, it sure is good they fixed slag so no one would be named after British slang anymore. Well, that and they changed the original name for Windblade. This is Slash, modeled after the Legends figure. Obviously, she's primarily Black Arachnia. The only significant mod to the base figure parts was the addition of a forearm swivel. You just pop the ball joint out, drill a hole through the forearm, through the ball joint socket, and then cut through the forearm with an X-Acto blade, and then put a pin in that hole that you drilled, and that gives you your swivel. Now for her, that's necessary for transformation, and I would love to do that to all of my copies of this mold, but the truth is it's quite hard to get that cut right and have it be perpendicular to the pin in all 3 dimensions. If you look real close, you can see I sort of only just barely got it right here. I also covered up some of the spidery bits with some styrene, including this stylish Calvin Klein style life vest for confusing everybody when she goes back to 1955. The dino head and tail kibble and claws are all made from styrene. And yes, the kibble is fairly kibbly kibble, but I sort of like how it homages all of the other Dinobots. You've got the gray body chunks like Grimlock, the split golden tail like Snarl, the wing-like silhouette like Swoop, the dino head hood like Slag, and since she's made of plastic, she started life as an oily sludge. It's the omnikibble, the ur-kibble, the platonic kibble ideal. Her head was a little bit of an afterthought. I mean, I'd always planned on doing one. It's just I got about halfway through all the dino stuff before I put any thought into what it should look like. And it's basically this one's head, or more accurately, a animated version of a G1 version of this one's head, but with blue optics, because that's just how we roll in TFA town. And to build it, I took a spare back half of Black Arachnia's head and then just globbed a blob of epoxy sculpt on there. People ask me how I build this stuff, and that's the secret. Glob blobbing. You can read all about it on my new website, Bob Loblaw's Blobaglob blog. Most of the face sculpt was just carved down from that initial epoxy wad, but some of the fine detail, like the crest and this cheek armor and that lip around the edge, that was added later using very small pieces of styrene. And then I did the optics using blue chrome vinyl, and for once you can actually see it. So all those times I was talking about blue chrome vinyl but couldn't get the camera to show it, this is what you were missing. Drink it in. So why did I have a spare back half of Black Arachnia's head? Well, this is the 4th time I've built something out of Black Arachnia, but only the 2nd time it's worked. See, for years I've been trying to force this mold into something vaguely car-shaped to squeeze an Elita 1 out of it, and she's just not having it. You may very well ask, why don't you just give up and use the RC mold like Jarrod did? And well, A, that one is too perfect and I'd only embarrass myself trying to ape it, and B, I'm kind of invested now. Gotta make something out of this mess, and I've already got too many RCs. Then before that there was Sonar, and this is where the spare part came from because I accidentally melted her face. It turns out there is no temperature at which Sculpey will dry and plastic will not melt. But now I've made a non-animated Sonar from Beast Hunters RC. I think that's Sonar enough for anybody. And then of course there was Scylla, who you will no doubt remember from my Scylla video. Did I do a Scylla video? Crap. This is Scylla. She comes from a time when I was basically just making fembots at random, so it's really kind of a coincidence that she's animated. It's just of all the various Black Arachnia molds, that was the one that was most cooperative about being turned into a squid. She features some little styrene squid bits and, of course, a cape of Lego tentacles, which looks neat, but does make her somewhat troublesome to pose on the shelf. Back then, I had just started working with epoxy sculpt, and I hadn't really figured out that you could sculpt it after it dried. So for her square little head to have come out halfway decent is sort of no minor miracle. And she's glossy rather than matte because I hadn't yet figured out that the dull coat worked better for the animated look. So let's just assume that's squid slime. So Slash turns into a raptor. It's cool and all, but it is a little bit like Motorcycle RC all over again, where, okay, fine, you can have a girl one, but she has to turn into the smallest possible thing. And I guess it's good that we're moving past that now with the likes of Windblade and Strongarm, but what we have now is, okay, fine, you can have a girl one, but she has to be inexplicably smaller than the boys, even though she turns into something that by rights should be much bigger, like a jet or a helicopter or a truck that is literally twice your size, Bumblebee. And you can read whatever agenda into that screed you want to, but my real beef is I want fembot toys to stop being so small and kibbly just for the sake of not threatening Bumblebee's masculinity. So Slash turns into a raptor. This video's about Slash. Stop getting distracted. I admit she's a little skinny around the middle, but let's just assume that she turns into a supermodel raptor like Cindy Clawford or Claudia Schiffer or Carly Claus. All I got is claw jokes. I did try to make the dino upper legs look more dino-ish and less human with these thigh extender bits, because I feel like Chimera's big flaw is her two human legs, by which I mean her excessively human legs. I only expected her to have two. I'm sort of two minds of this. Sometimes I feel like it looks really good, and sometimes I don't. Ooh! Bar Raptor Ailey. And sometimes I don't. Here's the dino head. I know I'm going to lose points here for lack of visible teeth, but I modeled her on the Jurassic Park raptors, and those guys tend to keep their mouths shut unless they're actively biting and or screaming at you. Also, hinging the jaw would have required me to put a pin right through here where her head hides, and you know how I feel about effort. I feel like she blends in reasonably well with her bros, although if we're pretending scale is a thing, she's a bit on the big side compared to the rest of them, but then so is Swoop. Scylla transforms into a squid monster. I left off the alt mode legs because that's kind of always been a pet peeve of mine about the Seacons. Like, isn't walking around what robot mode is for? And if you've got a shark with legs, isn't that just a Terracon? Anyway, there's not a whole lot to say about this mode, so we'll move on. Slash mostly uses Black Arachnia's transformation parts. There's not going to be a ton of surprises here. You straighten the arms, fold the claws back, and then just spin those around. And then same over here. Fold the claws back, spin those around. And this is where the forearm rotation comes in, because otherwise you'd wind up with a raptor that wants to help you move. Chest slides up. Legs straighten out. Same deal as on regular Black Arachnia with the legs. Spin those around. Straighten out the feet. And then the kibble lifts up, splits in half, and then folds out to the side, and then the tail halves fold around to form her backpack. I mean her not at all backpack. Her character, I don't know. The cool looking thing I put on her back. Scylla's legs peg together to form this squiddly carapace, and then she makes use of the waist swivel to get the tummy and the butt kibble in the same place. Other than that, it's mostly just a question of straightening her out and getting all these damn tentacles out of the way. Waist swivel in action. I'm just going to straighten these tentacles out off camera. So those are my black arachnids. Turns out the mold is good for making beasts of land, sea, and air, but terrible at making cars or surviving very high temperatures. Hope to see you again in 2 to 3 months for what will hopefully be a twofer.